Hey everyone, Liam here from Solitude. Thanks for coming back to my channel again to check out another video about Australian music. In this one today, I'm going to be talking about what I believe are the best songs from Australia that came out in the 1970s. Now I've got a list of what I believe are the top 20. Now I've done my best to make this like an objective list, but I know there's a lot of different opinions out there, so if you want to share them, please do so in the comments. One little note before I get into that count as well, and I wanted to just make sure everyone knows that I've got to put in live versions in this count, because if I put in the actual recordings, I will more than likely be hit with a copyright strike. So at number 20, this song is kind of a little bit of a gimmick in my opinion, but it's one that got really popular in Australia in the 70s, and I seem to recall it from some sort of advertisement. I can't remember what exactly they were advertising, but it's somewhere in my mind there from my childhood. I just remember this song being on a commercial. Okay, 19. It's a rock song. It's quite a like kind of heavy rock song for the 70s, and it's kind of like a badass sort of like bad boy song. It kind of comes across as a little corny for me these days, but hey, I get the appeal, and I guess it really did kind of usher in, or this song helped usher in that kind of pub rock sound. Okay, 18. This song is one you still hear quite a lot on classic Australian radio stations. I guess it's probably one where it's kind of synonymous with that sort of 70s rock sound. It's from an artist who probably had this song as their biggest. I'm not sure if they had many other hits in Australia. I really like the content material as well. It's kind of like cheeky, and it's clever the way it describes music being played on the radio. Okay, number 17 is a song from a solo artist, from a guy who I guess developed a bit of a reputation of being a good songwriter, a good guitarist, and someone who could kind of, tell a story in his songs. And this was probably his biggest song from the 70s especially. He had a couple of other hits. Friday night, see the girls on the avenue. Okay, number 16. Now, I personally probably think of this band being like an 80s band. I think they released more material in the 80s, and some of their more kind of well-known work is from the 80s. But they did release this song in the 70s, and it's probably, you could say, their biggest song. Maybe their most well-known. I guess maybe there's two or three others that are arguably up there as their biggest songs. Okay, number 15. It's a song from a punk rock band, one of the first punk rock bands in Australia after that wave kind of came in the early 70s from Britain and New York. And this band was the first to this band was one of the first to start to delve into that sort of punk rock sound, basic chord progressions, kind of shouty vocals, and this was their biggest song. It's gotta be a new race. Kids are gonna start it over. Now gonna be okay, number 14 is a song from a couple of guys who were in a band who basically wrote very professional pop songs. I guess that's kind of maybe underselling how good they were as musicians, but they had a lot of hits in the 80s as well, but they started off in the 70s, and this was their biggest one from that decade. Okay, number 13 is a solo artist, a female singer, and this was her big hit. And for the time that she put this out, it was quite a poignant message, because obviously this was the 70s. It's not like how it is today. And her being a female, she had a message that she wanted to share about, feminism and, you know, female empowerment, and she was bold enough to put it out in the 70s.
I am strong, I'm invincible, I am one.
Okay, number 12. Now this song is one that is kind of close to my heart, actually, because it's actually one of my mum's favorite songs. So she often plays it, and she likes bringing this song up as one that's one of her favorites. So when it starts playing at the beginning with that 12-string guitar, the 12-string acoustic guitar, it's an interesting kind of sound, and it's so different to the chorus that you might not even recognize the song you're listening to when it starts, because the chorus is so recognizable. Okay, number 11. This band definitely deserve an entry in here. This is their biggest song from the 70s. They had a lot of hits in the 70s. They were arguably one of Australia's best and most successful bands from the 70s. And it was hard to kind of choose which was their biggest song, but I've gone with this one, and I think it's about right here. I feel like I could get some people saying it should be higher, but maybe the problem with me not putting it as high is because they have so many hits. It's hard to pick one, and they don't really have a standout as much. Okay, number 10. We're going back to punk rock, and this band, I believe, was probably the first to do it in Australia successfully, at least. I know that's probably debatable. Someone in the comments can delve further into that, about the history of Australian punk. The name of the song is kind of like synonymous with punk rock in Australia, because it was also the name of the album that they put out. So you probably know what I'm talking about. Here it is. Alright, number 9. I guess you would say this is like a disco song, kind of, which was big in the 70s, obviously. And it was by a solo artist. And this song just reminds me of weddings, I'll be honest. I remember hearing this song at weddings growing up, and I haven't been to a wedding recently, and I feel like maybe this song kind of doesn't get played as much as it used to, but that's what I think of when I hear this song.
Love is in the air. Love is in the air.
Number 8. Now this guy was one of the first in the 70s to start really sinking his teeth into Australian culture, I guess you would say. Well, I want to say this guy, he also had a band that was behind him, so he was like a solo guy with the band behind him, and he was kind of one of the first to get really popular, as I understand it, and this was his biggest song.
Those people I know think that I'm crazy.
Okay, number 7. So the group that put out this song in the 70s, they became probably the biggest band from that decade because of how well they were able to explain Australian culture. And their album that they released was, you know, so popular because of that. And they were probably like one of the first bands in the 70s to really start to become like identifiable as an Australian band. I believe this was probably their biggest song, which I'm putting in here. You could maybe argue with a couple of others up there, but this is the one that I think of most when I hear them. Okay, number 6. Now this song is often put with cricket because of the title and the word that it uses, which is a cricket term. But it's kind of funny because the song isn't actually about cricket, and it's kind of a disco song. But yeah, it's synonymous with 70s Australian culture and cricket, so you probably know it.
You messed about, I caught you out.
Okay, number 5. Now, this one is known for being a song that has parts to it. so you probably know what I'm talking about already. And I guess I'm just including all the parts when I'm talking about this song. But it's a song about a woman, and her name is the name of the song. And I guess the songwriter, he just really wanted to write a lot about this woman, and it's impressive how much he fits into 3 songs. So good on him. Okay, number 4. Now this song is one that on my most popular video I put out, the top 30 Australian songs of all time, I didn't include this song on there, and it's my biggest regret because I get the most complaints about this song not being included. I kind of personally felt like the song is a little gimmicky, and for that reason I didn't include it. But it was really close to being on my top 30. It was probably like 31st or 32nd song that got cut. But apparently there is a lot of respect for this song, even though that it's synonymous with dacking yourself in a pub. Okay, number 3 is the Australian song with the greatest crowd call and response. Now, this song is kind of funny because it really is just kind of like this basic rock song from the 70s. It's just like a rock and roll song. It's actually kind of like a rip-off of another song, actually, if you read into it. But for some reason, the culture just caught onto it, and they came up with their own little call and response in the chorus, which has a swear word in it. So you probably know what I'm talking about.
Am I ever gonna see your face again? Am I ever gonna see your...
Alright, number 2. So now this is a song from a band who are arguably the biggest and greatest Australian band of all time. It's hard to pinpoint what their greatest song from the 70s is, but I've gone with what I believe is the right entry here. This song is synonymous with Australian culture. It's not really about Australian culture, but for whatever reason, it's been attached to Australianisms.
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. It's a long...
Alright, now my number 1 song from the 70s in Australia. It's a song about the Vietnam War and a Vietnam War veteran who comes home and has post-war depression. It's from an artist who were very big in the 80s, but they released this song in the 70s. And it was like their first single, so it was the way they kind of got themselves out there. And this song is often regarded to be the greatest Australian song of all time. So I think it has to be number 1 on the 70s list. Alright everyone, thanks for checking out this video. If you like this video about Australian music, please check out more of my stuff. I've got other videos that talk about Australian songs and artists, so check them out here.